Welcome to Rochester Business Connections, powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC, where I get the chance to chat with Rochester, New York's very best business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. I am your host, Ben Albert. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, we don't do advertisements. My fee for this show is simple. If you gain value from the episode, personally share with a friend and explain your favorite part. Let's get started. Welcome to Rochester Business Connections. I am here with Missy Marsocci. Did I say it right this time?
You got it. You got it right.
Missy, what's up? How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. You are the owner and president of Cornerstone Consulting, Health and Management. Did I say that in the right order?
Close. That's close. Cornerstone Healthcare Consulting and Management. It's a mouthful.
It's not even first thing in the morning. It's not the crack of dawn, but I still got to get, the juices flowing this morning. I got a brain fart, it looks like.
There you go. It's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So Missy has ultimately helped develop multiple physician firms. I want you to ultimately explain it yourself. Well, tell us from a bird's eye view exactly what you do.
Yeah, so I always kind of describe myself essentially as a healthcare entrepreneur. My background previously was actually operating urgent care centers. So then I do have the understanding of what it means to be a practice owner. And then I migrated, prior to doing that, I was a little bit in consulting and contract management, but I decided to go more in depth into that world again. That's where I am now. So can pretty much offer just about anything to physicians and or physician groups and health systems. But right now, the niche areas have really become turnaround consulting and practice formation, new practice startup. On the turnaround side, there's been a real prevalence all around the country for health systems be purchasing physician practices. So these physician practices will come to me instead of selling. They recognize that there's things that need to be fixed, and we'll work together to fix them. Unlike other consultants, one of the things that would set myself and my company apart is we actually seek to be a part of the solution, to execute what needs to be done. Whereas other consultants will go on site, they'll give you a list of what's wrong and then they walk away. So we want to stay and help see those things through.
Gotcha. So you're a savior in essence that instead of selling out, you give them the opportunity and the game plan to ultimately rebuild and grow.
That's right. Yeah.
And you've
nice.
helped go. Yeah, it's amazing. And
yeah,
you've worked with a lot of different firms in the Rochester area or, beyond it as well.
Yeah, so actually Buffalo to Rochester, and then as well as outside of New York, I've also consulted in the Philadelphia region as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're growing across the region. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. Trying.
What got you into this field in the first place? Was there
Sure.
did you go to school for this kind of thing? Did you have a moment in time that you're like, that's what I want to do?
Sure. So, it's interesting. I was super passionate as a kid in aviation, and it really just ignited my just strong drive and really just passion. I'm a very passionate person. So I had done everything possible to set up a future to attend the Air Force Academy and become a pilot, actually.
Mm.
And in high school, I had a knee injury that took a few tries to get fixed. And then that kind of disqualified me for that goal. But it was interesting because it was also kind of like an epitome moment for me where I became very interested in the healthcare field and kind of being a patient and understanding that a little more than what I wanted to. I thought that might be something I wanted to then go into. Initially, I actually wanted to do the clinical route, so I did start that way educationally. And halfway through, I did realize that I probably didn't have the stomach for the clinical route, but I recognized that there were people that need to run these organizations, and I still loved medicine. I wanted to stay a part of that. So I redirected, switched my degree to healthcare administration, but came with that same boldness that was always there, whether what was, the desire to become this Air Force pilot. In college, I would say, I'm going to be the CEO of Strong Health, which is funny because not all the route I've taken, but it was just that hunger to always do something bigger. Out of college, I actually came out during the recession and had to just take a job. It wasn't even healthcare, it wasn't accounting. I absolutely hated it. I learned a lot. I mean, it was good for foundation. But still just like, okay, I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied, looking to climb. Thought consulting was a good place to land because it would give me that variety, a good background. So I was able to eventually get there, and that's what helped to open the doors entrepreneurially and where I am today.
Yeah, congratulations on getting here today. What are some of the practices that you've worked with? Let's give them a shout out so we
Yeah,
know where to
sure.
go.
So Rochester, I actually just came a few months ago from Penfield OBGYN. Actually, actually some of the physicians there are some of my most favorite physicians. I just had dinner with Dr. Leroy the other night, who's their senior partner. English Road Pediatrics is another group in Rochester that I've worked with, and I love Dr. Benny Vitullo. So anyone that their kids go there, they know Dr. Benny. Outside of Rochester, Buffalo, I've worked with UBMD, which is actually a very large physician group. Opened a couple practices there, Cedar Pediatrics and Trinity Pediatrics. Actually working with a large client that they've been around. They're two of the physicians, their dads started the practice, their own practices in 1962, and they have continued that legacy, and but without a brand. They never had a brand. So I've been doing turnaround consulting with them. They're now called Empire OBGYN, but for years we're just called Bartels Kowalski Weissman. And so since 1962, we got them a brand. So yeah, so those are some of my clients, Rochester, Buffalo. Philadelphia, I worked with Roxborough Hospital, actually consulting for them. So I guess I should throw a hospital in there.
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
So you really bring the client's brand and business to life. A lot of people that are listening, they're all kinds of people.
For sure.
How do we, get you in touch with the right kind of client? How can we be a good referral source?
Yeah, so the ideal client is a physician and or physician group. So I'll work with any size. Might be just a physician that decides they want to start their own practice, regardless of what age. I've had some where they're in the maybe last 10 years of their career, and that's what they want now for their legacy. And then I've had the young physician as well that says, nope, this is what I want to do. I want to own my own physician or own my own practice.
Right.
And then groups. I talked a lot about the turnaround consulting piece, but, I've done business development and the simplest credentialing. Maine Pediatrics out of Buffalo is one I work with regularly on just small little projects that they call me in on. I want to be that resource for whatever size practice that it is. But as much as I love private practice, I would say, though, I've worked with health systems and hospitals. So, yes, my goal is to try to keep practices private, but I'd love to see health systems embrace the idea of working with a company such as mine that does understand the nuances of private practice as a non-health system owned practice and what they don't always do right when they buy these practices, and how we can make it a better experience, not just for the physician side, but also, of course, absolutely the patient side.
I love your story because you're an example from entrepreneur to, total superstar helping all kinds of practices. I want to dive deeper into that, but I always like to talk a little bit about Rochester on the show.
Sure. Yeah.
are you from the Rochester area, or tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I grew up in Leroy, and for the last 13, 15 years, I've lived in Batavia. So I've lived in Genesee County my whole life, which is convenient in that I can easily travel to Buffalo or Rochester, being right in
Yeah,
between.
that's the perfect in between. And
Yeah, absolutely.
but between Rochester and Buffalo, any favorite places to go, eat, festivals, anything like that that you recommend?
Oh, so outside of Rochester, actually, Canal Side in Buffalo is incredible, and they continue to grow it, which is amazing. Rochester to Buffalo, there's so many good places to eat. I'll just name a couple that maybe are common out of both, like DeBella's. Love that place. Duff's Wings, and we can't live in Western New York and not like chicken
Yeah.
wings. In Buffalo, Paula's Donuts is huge. Love it. I can't go there without getting like multiple orders to bring home for friends and family.
With the cold weather, it only makes sense that we'd be foodies around here.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome, awesome. And yeah, so you are an entrepreneur grown into businesswoman who's doing lots of stuff for a lot of large physicians, firms. You're growing day by day, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
Tell us a little bit about the struggles, because a lot of people might be in that place right now where they're like,
yeah,
why did I go off on my own? What am I
sure.
doing? The
Yeah.
virus is hurting my business. I'm sure you've been through some of that yourself, and I'm
Oh,
curious what
yeah.
happened, if you don't mind sharing, and how you accomplished defeating it.
I love that question. I respect it so much. I've said for years that people always see the end result of where entrepreneurs landed. They never hear the story about the struggle to get there. Um, when I began, I was actually really young, but the first urgent care that I opened, I was about 28 years old. And so even just the struggle of some of that immaturity and not wanting to admit that I don't know everything. So I've learned, through the years that that's important. You don't get rich quick. That's the other thing that people assume that that person is a business owner, they're in business, they must be rich right out of the gate. And that doesn't happen. There was a long time where I didn't take a paycheck. And you're sweating it as you're building your business. In a short amount of time, have dealt with just about, with the urgent care side, I had dealt with just about anything and everything that could go wrong in business.
Wow.
I was leasing a property that the owner had over $2 million of judgments against and had to figure out how the heck I was going to navigate that. Even when I was in Philadelphia, I remember we had connected with the mob, not intentionally, but you know, just doing business in an unfamiliar area and just somebody that we probably should disconnect from. So you got to hang in there. That refinement process will absolutely make you. One of the things that I also appreciate about the refinement process is you'll often see that successful CEOs or business owners are oftentimes actually pretty humble in comparison to maybe other people in an organization. You've been beat up so much that you're just thankful, for where you've gotten, and just want to keep going.
Yeah, I think that's great feedback. They a lot of times we like to, glorify the concept of an overnight success, when more
Yes,
times than not, that overnight success was years in the making to create
yes,
that success. And let's say you are an overnight success, you win the lottery or something. Who's to say you're not going to fall apart if you don't have that experience?
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's I think what's important about that last statement you made is you're always learning. So even though I've been through quite a bit, in a short amount and relatively short amount of time, I would say, I recognize that I'm not who I was yesterday. and I'm I'm not the person who I want to be today.
Mm.
So each day I'm kind of self-analyzing, how could I have done better in this, that, and whatever, you know.
Yeah, you're self-analyzing, you're self-aware, always learning.
Yeah.
So on a shorter scale, what are you learning about lately? Has there been any changes in the fields, whether it's
Sure.
regulations or just knowledge or mentorship? What's been going on the past year and what have you learned?
Yeah, so I think COVID kind of disrupted everything, right?
I don't think anyone has an answer to what they've learned in the past year because it changes every day.
For sure. I think COVID, though, has taught us to appreciate things a lot more, so much that we took for granted.
Mm,
And just even from a business perspective, I'm thankful that I was in an industry that actually became needed more during COVID. And I hate to hear the stories about fellow business owners that lost their businesses as a result of the pandemic. I think it's incredibly sad and just terrible.
right.
I think with mentorship, it's funny. You asked, where kind of like along those lines, if I learned anything about that. I learned through kind of just some falls that I needed to admit the fact that I don't know everything, and so I always do embrace getting the opportunity to meet people, not necessarily business owners. I mean, some of the best people that I've encountered are just common everyday people, and I truly I appreciate their humility and their great character. So really, just looking to emulate things like that. Always learning, with those things. So and I think just with COVID, it's taught us how to just operate our businesses differently. Think about preparing for like what could be the next big problem that's not necessarily a pandemic, but something that could disrupt our organizations.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely been a crazy year.
Yeah,
And a lot of businesses are looking at budgets. A lot of strong business owners, they don't want to cut budget, but they're asking themselves, how can I be more efficient?
for sure.
And in your practice, you've helped a lot of businesses with branding and developing and ultimately strengthening their business. What
Mhm.
are some of those, low budget options or just like worthwhile investments that a business could ultimately use to not
Sure.
cut budget but be more efficient and more effective with what they're doing?
Well, what's interesting, what I see all the time with these healthcare practices, they they really aren't properly looking at their expenses.
Hmm.
So, our recent client, for example, I had reduced their annual expenses by close to $300,000, which obviously is a significant number. And some of that was in areas that they didn't even expect, like medical waste. There is a common vendor, I won't say their name, but if I hear that they're utilizing that vendor, I automatically anticipate that they're paying way too much money,
Wow.
specific to the medical waste. Unfortunately, you do see where in some of these big practices, they appoint a manager that really maybe isn't quite qualified for the role. They have kind of grown through the ranks within the practice, and I absolutely respect that. But healthcare is still a business, so they really need somebody that can properly steer their ship and be looking at these things, properly negotiating with vendors. So those are honestly some quick, easy fixes to fix their budget issues without touching the practice first. Just switching vendors. Um, that's actually something that I want to get more into with my business is using that as an umbrella that just cost reduction consulting under the turnaround. Also, is these practices are often overstaffed. Some of them have actually learned through COVID how to get by with less, but there's more efficient ways to do that. Embracing technology is one. I often see where they have phone systems that are 20 plus years old, and so you got to get on board with these like a VoIP phone system, and that can also now you can text message through these and really be offering the things that patients truly want. So it just comes down to it's still a business. Yes, we're offering care, but it's still a business too.
Yeah, absolutely. I do you want to send me a bill for the consultation? You've given us so much gold today.
Yeah, yeah. It's free. Free. First hour's free.
I love it. I love it. I want to go into the rapid fire round where
Sure.
we just ask some simple, easy questions to get to know Missy a little bit better.
Okay.
I always start with coffee or tea,
Coffee,
beer or wine.
wine.
Are you a morning person, night owl?
I'm a little bit of a blend. I would say evening, but not too late.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Do you have a favorite season of the year?
Summer.
Summertime. Okay,
Yeah.
so the follow-up question always is it's summertime, it's a beautiful day. What kind of ice cream flavor do you like?
Ooh, anything peanut butter.
Me too, me too.
Yeah.
Um, favorite breakfast item?
Ooh. I have to say, depending on the mood, it's either an omelet, like the cheese and bacon, or chocolate chip pancakes.
Yummy.
Yeah.
iOS or Android?
iOS.
And let's do so ebooks. I love ebooks for efficiency, but have you moved to ebooks or are you still a classic hardcover?
Oh, still classic hard book. I prefer having that tangible item.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Again, ebooks. I don't think anyone's chosen ebooks when I ask them that, but
Well,
I just like it because I basically took like 200 pounds out of my life by putting it into an ebook.
for
That being
sure.
said, there's nothing like a classic hardcover.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Um, well, great, Missy. You've already offered so much advice, guidance. I'd love to talk to you more.
Sure.
But one final tip, if you have one, or just a recommendation for people listening at home. Can you leave us with one more tip?
If it's healthcare specific, I would say that practices don't wait too long to ask for help. A lot of times that's what happens is I get on board after, and it's much harder, and embrace change. It's okay. It's hard. It's painful, but it's worth it.
Love it, love it. And as Missy said before, she learns a lot from everyone, not just other owners, not just healthcare
Absolutely.
field. So get in touch with her. We might not all be physicians, but we know one.
Yeah.
Um, so ultimately, how do people get in touch with you, follow up, and make a friend?
Yeah. So, absolutely. Email's great. I'm always checking my email, and if they wanted to call, I could provide my email address, cell phone number. Um, Pretty personable, always willing to take a call. So, and be the person on the other line, not somebody else. So,
Love it. Do you either want to give us your email and phone number or give us like a website or something we can
yeah,
find it?
you know what? So, website, real easy. Just C as in cat, M as in Mary, hyphen HI.com.
Love it. Thanks again for coming on. You can send me a bill, but luckily we kept it short, so I didn't use the whole hour. But
Oh,
it sounds
yep.
like you're always open minded to consult and give good advice. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for listening to Rochester Business Connections. Don't forget to share this, rate, and comment on your favorite platform. You can also email me, ben@balbertmarketing.com. Let's connect soon. Until then, keep thriving, everyone.